Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, all praise and glory is unto Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahshua, Ba'ashim Rachach that belong to our apostles, the bishops, the elders of the great millstone. Greetings, salutations, blessings, much love unto you elect. We brush your quiet with a quick video. And I'm going to show an excerpt from the elder brothers in Dallas camp on Friday. And a small piece of what they said. And then I'm going to support it with some with a movie clip, but I'll first, and then I'll also read what is it called? Basically some AI overview, because it's all comprised of that, of things about the original book that the movie was made from. Okay, so matter of fact, I'll start with the clip. So fair use, fair use, fair use. Bear with me. All right, like I said, fair use, fair use, fair use. This is not for monetary gain or value, simply for educational purposes. Fair use, fair use, fair use. All right, without further ado, the movie clip from HBO Movies. This is on YouTube, Famous Now Movies, of the movie Fahrenheit 451. Small clip. Not going to play it so I don't get struck and all of that and copywritten and blah, blah, blah. But I will read what the original book, because there's two movies. This version, I think, from 2018, and I think that's when this one came out. Then there's another one from 1966. Still haven't seen that one. I'm waiting to catch a moment to see that one. But then there's also a book. All right, but it's what the brothers say in Dallas is gonna bring it all to life, though. So let me start with this.
Now, have any of you guys ever seen one of these bad things for real? We burned almost every physical book in the country. So by the time you guys grow up, there won't be one book left. Burn it.
What's wrong, Montag? Your vitals have been off recently.
Did firemen used to put out fires?
That's a classic lie. Have you used your drops today?
Okay, and that's enough. That's a classic lie. When they asked basically Siri or whatever, did firemen used to put out fires instead of setting fires to burn books? Okay, that's what it's become in the future. And he says by the time you guys are adults, there won't be one book left. All right? Which that was the point that the elder brothers were talking about in Dallas this past Friday. All right, so I'm going to play that clip next. All right, from this one right here. There we go.
You're bound to his image in exchange for your soul. And he's gonna solidify that oath by a mark. Yep. But before they get there, there's a lot of people that gotta go. They have to bring so much chaos.
Okay. And when you see the whole movie, the 2018 movie I'm speaking of, you see that the people that had read these books, because that's where they were storing the information of the books. And it was kind of dope how they did it, and it reminded me strictly of the brothers. That's why it's such it's a must watch for Brothers in the Truth. At least the 2018 version. I know you guys like Michael B. Jordan, but check it out, because it's a good film, and it's a lot of biblical themes, especially when the Bible is outlawed, and the elders go into it. Okay, the elders in Dallas, they go into it. Okay, about I'm gonna try to play that enough of the clip of them that you can hear everything they say about it, but how it was done in ancient times, so on and so forth. But particularly to say in the movie, there were people that could recite pages, like special children and certain people that could recite certain pages out of books, the whole verse, the whole line, the whole chapter, that read these books, and they read them a bunch of times, and they had certain books stored within those people. Okay, what does that sound like? Certain prophecies stored within certain prophets. Okay, that they understood these things by this time, and they didn't want this to get out to the masses. You got to see the movie. Okay, well, this is, like I said, tying it into men of the Lord. Certain men understood certain prophecies, but it's got to be written in us eventually, because they're going to get rid of these Bibles. But the elders will go into it. Watch it.
So many people can go because they want to start over. Right. Boom. This is.
I forgot to say, they even killed some of the people in the movie that had those books, certain books within them. Okay?
And if you speak against it, you're speaking against God.
Yeah, we're not a part of that plan. We're not a part of their new plan. You know,
No.
we'll be on the list for sure.
Yeah, we would have to go.
Yeah.
We know too much. Our children know too much. People like us and our children, and anyone who's in contact with us, got to go.
They can track the viewership, you know, the algorithms, even
Right.
if people are not out here proclaiming it like we are.
Right.
I like to call it the IP addresses. Okay? They see everywhere that you've searched and read, and a lot of like they're gonna say it. I'm letting them speak.
Those that are watching, those that are leaving comments,
Yeah.
you know, we'll be on the list for sure.
Yeah, we would have to go.
Yeah.
We know too much. Our children know too much. People like us and our children, and anyone who's in contact with us, got to go.
They can track the viewership, you know, the algorithms, even
Right.
if people are not out here proclaiming it like we are.
Right.
Those that are watching, those that are leaving comments,
Yeah.
you know.
So in the new world that they plan on bringing, history as we know it, God, all of those things won't be in talking point.
Okay, and that's what it was saying in the movie. Okay. Didn't firemen used to put out fires? That's that was a lie, Montag, and so on and so forth. Then he said, a part that I couldn't find a clip for that I wanted. It said you can read any book you want to on the 9, basically online, but it's a censored version of the internet. Okay, you can read Moby Dick. You can read what was the other one they said? Moby Dick. The spook that said, but I don't even remember. I don't remember the other book. It was another book, but then it was I don't think it was a spook that sat by the door, but it was Moby Dick. But there was the Bible. The Bible was on the 9 also on there. Okay, and when you get into the movie, you'll see how it played. The book, or the original book, and that's why I said I haven't seen the original movie from 1966. But I think they tied into the Bible angle of it. But let's see what the brothers finish saying.
Only a small elite will know the truth, but ultimately truth reading. They show it in the movies. That's going to be a thing of the past.
Yeah.
Free will to learn and study about the ancient times and know.
Yeah, they gonna consider that rebellion.
That's going to be rebellious.
We'll tell you what you read.
Even they say AI gonna write the Bible, gonna rewrite it, and it's gonna be better than the original Bible.
There's going to be a
And see, that's what they were kind of alluding to in the movie, right?
point. There's going to be a point where people ain't going to know that there was ever a Bible.
Right, it's crazy shit.
That's what the world they plan on bringing.
Right.
So we go.
And then when you watch the longer, even the trailer, I didn't play the whole thing. They were talking about, or a different trailer. They was even saying how everybody's corrupted by what somebody else wrote. You're taking on ideas that somebody else had. You're not free. They get into it. Very good movie. Very good Jacob and Esau story. Okay, for you that like movies like that and see the biblical twist in these movies. Good movie. Good watch.
The men who go get beheaded, they gonna get beheaded before Esau really is able to. We gotta go.
Oh, yeah.
That's why the Lord is gonna have to send Michael down, man, and the angels. Yahweh Shai, man.
Yeah. And people don't think in a massive war or in a situation where they wipe out most men on the earth, you can rewrite history, man.
Yes.
Hell yeah. You know?
Yeah.
You can have all the things that this book has caused so much rebellions and bloodshed, we need to get rid of it.
Right.
It's a book, it's a terroristic book.
Yep. You go to click on certain movies. This is according to the new, the new doctrine, basically, of the New World Order.
Yep.
This is considered dangerous to the mind. You won't be able to hear certain things.
Yeah, it's already like that in China.
Yes.
And it's funny because you can even see in certain movies, I think Disney movies had it, certain movies, they even went back and put someone else's voice over. Instead of them saying certain things, they didn't because the times have changed. 90s Disney movies and just whatever. I can't think of any specific situations, but I've seen it, videos like that, and I believe there was in like, old Disney movies or Star Wars, something like that, but they went back and covered up certain things and voiced it over with certain other speeches, where it's now PC of the times, right?
Click on what you want in China. You can't get on World Star Hip Hop in China. You get arrested. Real quick. This is first, just to back up your point. First Maccabees, chapter 1, get straight to the point, verse 55 and 56. Yeah, I'll read verse 57. It burnt incense at the doors of their houses and in the streets. Now, this is at the time of the Greek Empire, by the way. And when they had written pieces, the books of the law which they found, they burnt them with fire.
They burned the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
They were burning the Bible.
Fahrenheit 451.
They were burning the scrolls. So that's what they had back then. They had the scrolls. It wasn't just burning like actual Bibles, but they were burning the books of the law, the scrolls. Go ahead.
Yep. Verse 57. And wheresoever was found with any the book of the testament, or if any consented to the law, the king's commandment was that they should be put to death. And that's going in, and that's lining right up with what the elders are saying, man. You see, they're not going to have. They don't want you to have no recollection of history of who you were.
Right.
And they did the same thing when we was in slavery, man. Right. That's why they didn't let you read stories about Moses and leading them out of Egypt. You wasn't allowed to read that.
They don't want you to know who you are, who they are either.
Yeah.
Yeah, the two main characters in the Bible have been hidden.
Yeah. The stories of Joshua, the stories of Joshua, that wasn't in there.
Man.
Gideon, all those stories, you wasn't allowed to read none of that. And if they caught you even reading, you would be sometimes put to death, man. But here in this digital age, this new world order, man, no, they ain't about to. I'm a Hebrew Israelite, hell no.
No, that's what these camps talking about. In the next 10 years, we plan on being the biggest Israelite camp. Nigga, you not. Just look at where this world is going. You really believe
Retarded as hell.
that? Look at where the world is going. Look at what Trump has done in 6 months.
Man,
right? You really think 10 years down the line, if things keep going as is, we gonna be able to flourish like that here?
No, it's all right. It's all right. Showing you they seeking their glory on this side.
Right.
Now you're supposed to measure the time, because if you listen to the prophets, you should be able to measure the time and have an idea, not a day, but an idea like, okay, shit, we in this time. Let me repent, let me get right. You know what I'm saying? Examine yourself and take advantage of the grace that is given.
Right.
That's it.
Yep. And another aspect of us being in Rome is deporting. They used to deport people out of their kingdom for your belief. If you commit sacrilege or rebelling against the king, talking about another king sitting on the throne, that was you put yourself in the threat of death.
Yep, that's right.
So they would when they kicked the Jews, which it really was the Christians. It was the Church of Yahweh Shai that got kicked out of Rome. A lot of the Jews had.
Okay, so it's beautifully going into this. I'm not gonna break that down as much. It was mainly that other part, but this has everything to do with it because the books had a testimony of Yahweh Shai, which we were speaking of, that him being our king, which was against the Caesars at that time. So they're like, nah, man, you're causing dissension. The order of the Levitical priesthood was being uprooted and upset by the message. Okay, so they're going into something that ties right into this, but and not only that, the Church of Yahweh Shai was the real Christians were actually also bringing it out in the books, which we knew was the Old Testament at that time, because the New Testament was being written, the Gospels and Paul and them hadn't written all of that at that point, at the point that they're speaking of. Definitely not back at the time that they were burning them in the time of the Greeks. That hadn't happened yet. But the times before that they had. All right. So just watch just a little bit on that, but we're gonna keep watching.
Out. They were all political and the law. The ones that were really flowing in the spirit that had the Romans scared was the Church of Yahweh Shai. They were going into prophecy, right? talking about fire coming and Babylon being burnt. They were going into those scriptures, and Nero was like, okay, so they hate our idols. They always talk about fire coming. He burned down a temple associated with Jupiter in a region of Rome and blamed the Church of Yahweh Shai. And he had the necessary accusation method. Just look at what they teach. So they deported, the Jews got deported out of Rome.
Which ties right into what's going on happening this time. They're even going to hit the precept, the brothers will.
The Roman Empire. They got kicked out. So Rome did that back then, what they're doing in the form of deportation. So the image is this is nothing new, what we're witnessing. Rome deported people all the time.
Tells you that in Acts 18. You know, when Paul was with Aquila and Priscilla, it says that that was lately, it said when in time of Claudius Caesar, they kicked him out of Rome.
Well, get it, get it, because that speaks to what's happening right now, because they're setting up a registry. Okay, they're setting up it was a census at one point. The census was actually you and all your family members had to register, so they can know who's in their empire. You had to be on record. Okay, go ahead.
This is Acts 18:1.
Before I even go further, and you always, if you ever been at the house, when I was young, they do, I think, every 10 years or whatever it was, on the zero of every 10 years, something to do with that. But every time it came around, and I remember when I was maybe 90 or whatever year that was, and I was too young, so I was like, we ain't answering the door. But then they come around, you be at somebody else's house, and they come around. Jake didn't want to answer the door and answer them questions. I seen them come around and they get cussed out. And they be like, well, we're going to bring the police back over here because you're supposed to tell us like it was the law and all of that, which I never looked into if it was the law, but this is showing you this is how they ran their kingdom. Okay, and now because it was never really accurate, you would hide certain kids, somebody would be born, they try to find you on the taxes and say this and that, and it is, for Jake, it just never seemed to be a good thing. But that's besides the point. I digress. Let them go back.
After these things, Paul departed from Athens and came to Corinth, and found a certain Jew named Aquila, born in Pontus, lately come from Italy with his wife Priscilla.
They had Israelites in Italy. Okay, people hear Italy and all they just know it's talking about a white man.
Yeah, Italian man.
That was in Africa.
Jake was everywhere, man. Go ahead.
Yep. Continuing on, because that Claudius had commanded all Jews to depart from Rome.
Right, to depart from Rome. Now somebody can look up what was going on during that time.
Yep, I'm looking it up right now.
It's a brother, GMS Hawaii, Bob put on here in Shalom. He put, the Roman government relocated groups of people within the empire for various reasons, although deportation might not be the precise term used in Roman law.
Right, and of course, but we're in Rome again.
We're in Rome again, yep.
And what do we see? It's a buzzword. If you've been under a rock or in a coma for the last 6 months or whatever, we see ICE deported Jake of the Northern Kingdom, which is Hispanics and natives, but particularly, because we know that they're mingled in with, Hispanics and natives are both mingled in, Negroes are mingled in, and even some of the people that are supposed to be considered American citizens are being mingled in and deported as well. All right, so they can deem whoever. So this is all the message that they're trying to get out there, that they'll send whoever anybody that's a fugitive, and they get to write and deem who's the fugitive, okay, or whatever they want to deem you, categorize you at, for those that know that, right? Let me let them keep going.
Well, it's presenting itself, but it's presenting itself under the same, under another name.
Yeah, right. The concept has just evolved.
Like the Christmas tree. Right. It wasn't called Christmas back in Babylon, but it's the same concept. It's the same practice.
Yeah. It says this. It says,
types of exile, there were varying degrees such as relegatio, temporary banishment with some rights retained, and deportatio, permanent exile to a specific location.
Deportatio. What is this, Rome?
Yeah, this is Rome.
Wow.
See? That's a Latin word.
Yeah. It says permanent exile to a specific location, often an island with loss of citizenship.
Could you imagine some big 7-foot, some Edomite with sandals on? Deportatio! Man. Running after your ass?
I said it with a stick.
Man.
Ice cream, chasing the Jake.
Gotta go.
Man, cursing you out like viciously.
That's what Rome was on. Gotta go. You had to go. So the concept of deportation, that's nothing new under the sun.
Yep. Syrian Empire.
The Syrians?
They said they call that literally. They call that in certain instances. They call that the Great Deportation, and that was the northern tribes. There ain't nothing new. It's the same thing. It's the same thing is happening again. Get your ass out of the land. Deportatio.
Right? Yep. It says, yes, Christians in the Roman Empire faced deportation, particularly during periods of persecution, though it was not a universal or constant policy. Deportation, often in the form of exile or banishment, was one of several punishments against Christians, typically alongside imprisonment, execution, or forced labor in mines. Right?
Real quick. This is about the Assyrians.
Yeah.
This is 2nd Esdras 13 and 40. These are the 10 tribes who were taken away into captivity in the time of King Hoshea. King Shalmaneser of Assyria captured them and deported them
Look at that.
to a foreign land. You know?
Look at that. Get out of here.
Deportatio. Deportatio. That's the spirit Esau in.
Yeah.
You gotta go. Basically, if you don't agree, and who's at the forefront of what's good or bad? The small hat. They're acting on his behalf. The laws are being passed on behalf of the small hat. That's who really controls this government, man.
Yep.
All right, and that's good enough for that. So let me get some other. Like I showed you the clip, I showed you the video from the live stream, and now let me read this from the book. All right, and so we got the image from the movie on the left, and this was just some symbology or whatever from the movie. The couple different things that they show. Okay, the all seeing eye. They even have it kind of with the pyramid underneath and all of that. But when you check it, you'll see all the little, somebody say stay vivid, basically so you can be seen. Don't, if you got nothing to hide, you know, you got nothing, those with nothing to hide nothing type mentality. But I Googled Fahrenheit 451, the Bible on the 9, right? It's all about what you ask AI and you know, and Google and all of that, which is all that same similar thing. And it gave me the AI overview, which said in Ray Bradbury's novel, Fahrenheit 451, the Bible, specifically the books of Ecclesiastes and Revelation, plays a significant role in Montag's journey toward intellectual and spiritual awakening, which, as the elders were saying in Dallas, that's why they didn't want us to read the Bible, especially certain books out of it. Just the ones where you obey your masters and be pushed towards, you know, being obedient, right? It says biblical allusions and symbolism. Allusions. It says Ecclesiastes. Montag attempts to memorize sections of Ecclesiastes, which aligns with his search for meaning and purpose in a shallow consumerist society. The message of Ecclesiastes, focusing on the emptiness of worldly possessions and the importance of finding true meaning with the Most High, they ain't saying, but with the Most High, right? Resonates with Montag's disillusionment with his society's pursuit of superficial pleasures. Revelation. After the city is destroyed by bombs, Montag contemplates the book of Revelations, which describes the apocalypse and offers hope for rebirth and renewal. And when you get into the movie, it's like there's always, I'm trying to think of the other guy's name, but there's always paralleling that books are giving you unclean, distorted ideas, putting it in your head, and therefore like tainting you or something to that effect, right? It says, this parallels Montag's desire for a better, more enlightened society to emerge from the ashes of the old. The book of Job. Montag also encounters the book of Job, which resonates with his own experience of suffering and loss. Job's perseverance in the face of adversity mirrors Montag's journey as he strives to preserve knowledge and challenge the oppressive regime. Montag's 9. Right? The word stay vivid on the 9 is a key element in Montag's journey. Though the search results don't explicitly connect the Bible and the 9 is described as a future version of the internet, right? It represents the constant flow of information and entertainment that overwhelms and distracts individuals in this dystopian society, right? So you can see how this ties right into today's today, right? It says the connection between the Bible and the 9 in Fahrenheit 451 lies in the contrast they represent. Right, and that's what I wasn't saying that the 9 was the Bible, but it was a quote that I was looking for when I came up with this. The quote was the 3 books that you can, only the 3 books you can read on the 9 in the movie. It says, it's a book that we all know, like the Cock's Crow, something, I don't know, but anyway, it's the one, I think it's the one from the movie Conspiracy Theory with Mel Gibson, the main book. I for some reason that is linking, but I'd have to go back to see. But anyway, matter of fact, I can't wait. I gotta Google it. Bear with me. Yeah, so I found it. While the film depicts simplified versions of some classic books being available on the 9, sources mention 3 specific titles that have been greatly simplified, okay, on the 9, like a slave Bible, okay? We know the slave Bible, when you get into the slave Bible, it was really broken down, or the Bible that went around amongst the slaves, okay? I don't remember exactly what it's called anymore, but around that time, it was specific books in the Bible that were removed, and only certain ones were able to be read. Anyway, it says the Bible to the Lighthouse, so I was wrong, and Moby Dick. Okay, those are the 3 books. Let's go back. Seems like they keep giving me a different question every time, but anyway, it says the renewed society that values knowledge and critical thought is one ties in the book of Revelation. Stay vivid on the 9, the 9 future, okay, internet, okay, mentioned in the book. The phrase stay vivid on the 9 can be interpreted as a call to remember and hold onto important ideas, which this is the system that they're talking about. Okay, this image of the beast, okay? It says to remember and hold onto important ideas even in a world of overwhelming distraction and media. In the context of the Bible, this suggests the importance of engaging in with religious texts and the truths they contain, despite attempts to suppress them. Okay, censorship and religious themes. Fahrenheit 451 explores how the government's censorship is used to control the populace and how this can impact even religious beliefs. The novel's critique of the manipulative power of media, ran by the small hats, and the government's use of technology to control information, technocracy, and censorship, right, which is going to be in that image, can also be seen as a warning about the potential manipulation of religion and spirituality. Manipulation. That's a lie. Like it told in the clip, it's a lie that firemen used to put out fires. Right? Bradbury suggests that a superficial engagement with religion without genuine engagement and reflection can lead to a loss of its true meaning and purpose. And we see that happening today. In summary, the Bible, particularly Ecclesiastes and Revelation, serves as a powerful symbol of knowledge, hope, and resilience in the face of censorship and ignorance in Fahrenheit 451. All right, so it's a good little movie. I mean, a little movie. It's a good movie. Okay, I guess this was where I was reading. Expressing the truth, censorship, basically. Yep, so this is all of that. Okay? Tool for disseminating control information and maintaining societal order. Okay? So yeah, good movie. I definitely put on the list to watch, but I just want to bring that out. And the elders was hitting on it in the movie that came to mind when they were saying it. Okay, because like I said, firemen burn books. Matter of fact, I'll show you something. All right, so this is it here, man. Check it out. Very good movie. I'm gonna try to see if I could. I guess I don't really need that, but I'll try to put this on it. And Lord willing, this was edifying. Give it all praise and glory unto Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai Ba'Shem Chakodash. That belong to our apostles, the bishops, the elders of the great millstone. Greetings, salutations, blessings, much love. On to the next one. Shalom.